Radio Mind.
In the eerie solitude of the late-night library, my fascination with perilous women grows as I delve into the chilling case of Sharon Elizabeth Kinne, a deadly killer lurking within the pages of my research on opportunistic murderers. Sharon Elizabeth Hall arrived on this planet in Independence, Missouri, on November 30th, 1939. Her family hit the road to Washington during her junior high days, but by the time she turned 15, they were back in Missouri, and she started attending William Chrisman High School. One hot summer in 1956, 16-year-old Sharon bumped into James Kinna, a 22-year-old college boy, at a church event. They had a good thing going until Kinney had to skip town and head back to Brigham Young University when the leaves started falling. Sharon sent Kinney a letter telling him she had a bun in the oven. Kinney left college to tie the knot with his sweetheart Sharon on the 18th of October, 1956. But the lovebirds had a bit of a hiccup when they got their hands on their marriage license. It said Sharon was 18 and a widow, but she didn't seem too keen to confirm or deny it. Word on the street was that Sharon had already tied the knot with some guy out in Washington, but he kicked the bucket in a car accident. After converting to the Mormon faith, the duo had another ceremony in the Salt Lake Temple a year later. They moved back to Provo, where Kinney was studying, but he flunked out after a semester. The newlyweds packed up their bags and headed back to Independence, where they both took on odd jobs. Sharon looked after little ones and worked in a store, while James got a gig as an electrical engineer at Bendix Aviation. Sharon said that she had lost the baby that brought them to the altar, but lo and behold, she ended up pregnant again. In the autumn of 1957, their bundle of joy, Dana, arrived in the world. Sharon had a taste for the finer things in life, but on Kinna's salary, they made do with a rental next to his folks and a ranch-style crib they built at 17,009 E 26th Terrace in Independence. Kinney worked nights at Bendix, while his wife did some daytime shopping and made time for other guys. By the time their second kid, Troy, came around, Sharon was cozying up to her high school pal, John Boldiz. James Kinney wasn't feeling the vibe of their marriage and had thoughts of splitting up, mainly because of Sharon's spending and her straying eyes. On March 18, 1960, Kinney spoke to his parents about getting a divorce. Sharon offered to give up the house and their daughter, plus $1,000 to end the marriage. But Kinne's folks were fervent Mormons and advised him to stay put. Meanwhile, Sharon was also eyeing an escape plan. According to Boldiz, she asked him to take out her husband for $1,000 or to hire someone else to do it. Boldiz said later that she may have been joking. On a typical Wednesday evening, Sharon Kinna heard a loud blast from the bedroom where her husband slept. Rushing to the scene, she found her husband, James Kinna, and their daughter Dana lying on the bed. James had suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the back of his head, with Dana holding one of his guns, a .22 caliber, high-standard semi-automatic target pistol. Despite Sharon's efforts to call for help and get James to the hospital, he didn't survive. The police found no fingerprints on the gun and didn't perform a gunshot residue test on Sharon or Dana. It was known that James allowed Dana to handle his guns, and tests confirmed Dana's ability to pull the trigger on a gun, matching the one used in the shooting. The police concluded it was an accidental homicide. The gun used in the incident was confiscated and not returned to Sharon, prompting her to have a friend buy her a .22 caliber automatic pistol under a different name. After the investigation concluded, James was buried, and Sharon collected approximately $29,000 from his life insurance policies. Patricia Jones, born Patricia Clements, married her high school sweetheart, Walter T. Jones, Jr., after finishing high school. Walter joined the Marine Corps shortly after, and the couple traveled during his service. They settled in Independence upon his return, where Patricia worked at the IRS and Walter sold cars. Despite being married with children, Walter Jones was unfaithful. He met Sharon Kinna on April 18th when she bought a car from his dealership. They began a secret relationship, but when Kinne suggested a trip to Washington in May, Jones declined. Their affair ended abruptly when Kinne revealed she was pregnant with Jones's child, leading him to end the affair. On a rainy afternoon in May, Sharon Kinne called Patricia Jones at work, revealing Walter's affair with Kinne's sister. Unsatisfied with just a phone call, Kinne met Patricia later to discuss it in person. After dropping Patricia off near the Jones home, Patricia disappeared. Walter filed a missing persons report, but it wasn't until Patricia's carpool buddies mentioned a mysterious woman wanting to meet her that any leads emerged. Patricia asked to be dropped off at a street corner in Independence, and she was never seen again. Walter suspected Sharon, and he was right. Kinne confessed to meeting Patricia to discuss Walter's affair, but there was more. On a hot summer evening, Kinne informed Patricia about her husband's infidelity. The next day, Walter reported Patricia missing. Learning of Kinne's talk with Patricia, Walter confronted her aggressively. Furious and desperate to know where she was, Walter met with Kinne and even threatened her with a key to her throat. However, Kinne stood her ground. Sharon immediately called her buddy John Boldes, and they set out to find Patricia. Their search led them to a secluded area outside of Independence, where they found her lifeless body. She had been shot 4 times with a .22 caliber pistol, including a fatal shot to her head. The killer had left powder burns on the hemline of her skirt, indicating that the gun had been fired at close range. The police initially placed her time of death at around 9 p.m. on May 27th. They buried Patricia on May 31st, but her killer was still out there, roaming free. The police questioned Sharon Kinne, James Boldes, and Walter Jones about Patricia's murder on May 28th. Jones and Boldes cooperated, but Kinne refused to sign a statement or take a lie detector test. More questioning followed, and on June 1st, Boldes and Jones took lie detector tests that showed they were telling the truth. The police searched extensively but could not find the bullet that killed Patricia or the murder weapon. The police charged Kinne with Patricia's murder on May 31st, the night of her funeral. They also charged her with her husband James's death. Despite the charges, Kinne was released on bail. The police ruled out the gun used to kill James and thought a new .22 pistol was used on Patricia, but they could not find it when searching Kinne's home. Dissatisfied with the initial autopsy on Patricia, the authorities had her body exhumed on June 17th to collect more evidence. Kinne was denied bail at her July 11th arraignment, but an appeals court soon granted her $24,000 bail. Kinne gave birth to a daughter named Marla on January 16, 1961, while awaiting trial. Sharon Kinne's trial for murdering Patricia Jones began in June 1961. The prosecution argued Jones died 6 hours after lunch on May 26th, but the defense said she died 6 to 8 hours before being found. The prosecution presented motives. Kinne said she was worried Jones was getting too far from her, and she told Jones she was pregnant with his child. But they couldn't definitively tie Kinne to the murder weapon. The bullets test fired from the gun Kinne allegedly owned didn't match the ones that killed Jones. After 27 prosecution witnesses, Kinne's defense focused on dismantling the claims of motive and means. The jury deliberated for an hour and a half before acquitting Kinne for lack of evidence. A juror even asked for her autograph. But Kinne's freedom was short-lived. With the Jones trial over, she was taken back to jail to await trial for murdering her husband James. In 1962, Sharon Kinne was charged with murdering her husband James, despite being acquitted for Patricia Jones's murder. The prosecution relied on John Boldes' testimony that Kinne paid for her husband's murder. But Boldes weakened his account, and the defense said Kinne's daughter accidentally shot James. After 5.5 hours, Kinne was convicted and sentenced to life. Jurors said morals weren't a factor. Lawyers unsuccessfully tried freeing Kinne, but in 1963, the Supreme Court ordered a new trial over jury selection issues. Kinne was released on bond and moved in with her mother, awaiting retrial. Kinne's second murder trial for killing her husband began in March 1964, but ended in a mistrial due to issues with the prosecutor. Her third trial began in June 1964. Prosecutor Donald Mason said he would disqualify any juror opposed to the death penalty. Jury selection took 12 hours as attorneys fought over jurors. Key witness John Boldes gave inconsistent testimony on whether Kinne seriously proposed killing her husband. A friend of Kinne's testified that Kinne had joked about taking out her husband, but the defense poked holes in her story. Kinne finally testified, denying the charges. The all-male jury deadlocked 7-5 for acquittal, causing another mistrial. While out on bail, Sharon Kinne fled to Mexico with new lover Francis Pugliese, violating her bail terms. She took the name Jeanette Pugliese. One night, Kinne left Pugliese and accompanied Francisco Paredes Ordóñez, who she claimed made unwanted advances, forcing her to shoot him in self-defense. Hotel employee Enrique Martinez Rueda heard gunshots and entered the room to investigate, but Kinne also shot him. Police rejected Kinne's self-defense claim, theorizing she intended robbery and shot Ordóñez when he refused to comply. The evidence showed Kinne's bullets killed Ordóñez, but was it truly self-defense or a calculated act? After killing Ordóñez, Kinne claimed self-defense, but was convicted of murder and sentenced to 10 years, later increased to 13 years. In December 1969, Kinne escaped from Ixtapalapan prison in Mexico. Authorities organized a manhunt, but she was never found. Theories emerged that she bribed guards, got help from a policeman boyfriend or her mother, or escaped disguised as a man. A recent theory suggests the Ordóñez family helped her escape, then killed her. By December 18th, authorities called off the search, believing Kinne likely crossed into Guatemala. Despite pledging to continue looking, police admitted by end of December they had no leads. Over 40 years later, what happened to Kinne after her escape remains a mystery. Sharon Elizabeth Kinne whereabouts remain unknown till this day. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Radio Mind. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support is invaluable and truly helps us grow. Stay tuned for more engaging content, and until next time, be safe, and remember, don't let everyday stresses kill your spirit and imagination.